Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my overjoyed partner in crime, Aaron Quinn. Aaron, how you doing?
You know what? There's nothing better that I like than being right. And the way I didn't even see this type of game coming. So let's just get right into it, Greg. I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, this is fantastic. You guys are joining us because the Buffalo Bills have, I'm going to say, shut out the Washington Commanders 37-0. Technically, Ron Rivera had like the most pitiful like shutout avoiding field goal as time ran out I've ever seen. Like it made it worse. I think 37-3 with that field goal and their own fans booing them is worse than 37-0. I think if you just ran a draw on 4th and 19, gave it to the Bills kneel it out and everybody goes home healthy, that's almost like more respectful. I saw a great analogy on Twitter. That's like if you're losing 12-0 in baseball and it's a no-hitter and you bunt with 2 outs in the 9th inning, like just technically it's not wrong. Technically you are allowed to bunt, but it just, I feel bad for him. Like
I do.
It's just so pitiful.
I am also pitifully petty, and I might bunt in that situation. Just be like, no, screw you, not on me. You're not. No, whatever. Yeah.
So that was his vibe. His vibe was, I'm not getting shut out. I'm going to lose 37-3. I'll show you guys.
Didn't want to hear from Sean about that. Yeah, I'm still going to call it a shutout.
They can't, and they legally can't stop me. Yeah,
you can't tell me what to do.
But overall, today we're going to talk about the overall game, but we are going to lead off with the defense because the defense dominated this game. It was honestly one of the most impressive defensive performances I can remember. The final stat line is going to read with a ridiculous 9 sacks
for negative 45 yards.
For negative 45 yards, 4 interceptions, 1 fumble recovery, a defensive touchdown. I believe the final total ended up being 230 yards allowed. They were at like 170 when it really mattered. Mm-hmm. And a couple times Washington did move their way down the field, and then we clamped down and got a turnover when it mattered or knocked them out of field goal range with sacks. Just an unbelievably dominant performance. And I don't think we can bring up any individual before we bring up Terrell Bernard. This is the Terrell Bernard coming out party. You and I were, I think, very supportive of the idea that he was going to be our starter, but very hesitant on what the potential outcome or how high that ceiling was. There is no possibility you could have told me this game was in the range of outcomes, because in 5 years of watching Tremaine Edmonds, I don't know that he ever had a game like it. Like this is they were bringing up comparisons, and the last guy to do this was Brian Urlacher.
Yep.
So just having that kind of game, and just to give the totals for it, Terrell Bernard led the team in tackles, 7 total, and the most solo tackles with 5, 2 sacks, 2 other tackles for loss, a fumble recovery, and an interception. I will guarantee that he is the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Unbelievable, debut to the world.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting arc for him, right? Because when Tremaine left, obviously there's a huge void there. And when you look at the roster as it was, he stood out as, if you're going to try to replace in the modern NFL what you want a linebacker to do, he has those tools, right? And so you had a guy in building that had those tools, but there's so much unknown. And then you go into the summer and you bring in some other guys. You have like a little bit of a battle, right? You got to draft with Dorian Williams. Dotson's getting the chance to go at it. And you're wondering what style they're going to run this team with. And you didn't get a chance to look at Bernard, and you were at camp and you did while he was still healthy, and said that, he showed all the things athletically that is what makes him stand out as more that modern option. And today, I think it was on full display. He's had a really good couple of games here. I think he's held his own, but today was on display in terms of the range, similar to what you were able to do with Tremaine Edmonds and getting him back deep in zone. But the play that he made on that ball for the interception, no offense to Tremaine, I'm one of the biggest Tremaine Edmonds supporters out there. I wanted the Bills to keep Tremaine Edmonds. I don't think that's the type of play that's the frustration that we had with Tremaine Edmonds, was unable to make that type of a big play. Yeah, he'd get his hand on it and the ball would pop up in the air and it would result in another down. Still a cool, positive play. Yeah. But that was like a special interception. That was
we were having to explain we would have to explain to people why it was still good. These took no explanation.
Right. This is not, you don't need to know that it was good. This whole style of play and some of the stuff, even outside of the box score, just like his ability in coverage, you see Howell looking a certain tight end, wide receiver's way. And Bernard was right there in just in steady coverage all day and forcing the ball to go the other way in the same way that we praised Tremaine for making the plays that didn't show up in the box score. But then today, Bernard also just pops off the box score. So kudos to him, hats off to him. And man, I don't think he's going to be able to maintain that type of level of play, but knowing that that's in him and that he can make these types of splash plays, now the ball's starting to show up around him all the time. And that's not an accident.
Yeah, it's, I'll go out on a limb and say he's not going to keep up this pace of a fumble recovery and interception and 2 sacks and 2 tackles for a loss. But like you said, just knowing that is in the range of outcomes when, like I said before, I was as out front of, hey, settle down on all the other talk. Terrell Bernard's probably going to be the starter. I was the one talking about, hey, we're probably going to need Christian Kirksey to come in here. It'll be Bernard for a little bit, but we probably need that veteran voice. And all of that was because I didn't see this possibility of impact. I thought he was just kind of the hold the line, hey, just do enough in coverage, and that, hey, we need to let him be, just good enough and let the other guys be the difference makers. I'll be fully honest. I did not see the possibility that he was going to be the difference maker and the most impactful player on the defense. We'll get to this. There were lots of other impact making plays today. Ed Oliver had an awesome game. Matt Milano almost had a pick six. AJ Epinesa did have a pick six. A lot of other guys look good, but just he was, honestly, he was maybe the best player in the field today. Like that's it. This wasn't a all-time great Josh Allen game. It was a good Josh Allen game. Stefon Diggs was really, really good. You can make an argument that Terrell Bernard was the best player on the football field today. I don't think you could have ever convinced me that I would say that sentence out loud.
Yeah, I mean, box score wise, statistically wise, for sure. And he didn't make any of those plays that give you the cause for concern. Like, he hasn't really looked at a place too much. I think probably the most exciting part is, we heard a lot about what this Washington run game can do. And when they leaned into it, they were able to have some success with it. But this game got out of hand for where they couldn't go to it. But I thought Bernard did a really good job in run support as well. And I think that he's shown up very well so far in run support. And everybody's talking about how the Bills can't play in this undersized stay in nickel defense with now getting even less size at the linebacker position with Bernard. And so far, he's been able to show that they can stay in teams. If there's going to be teams that do that, it's going to be a team that can power run like Robinson. And I don't know if it was Bieniemy just not taking advantage of that situation more and leaning into it early, but it didn't seem like, they slipped a couple of times, but the Bills were swarming tackling. And so Bernard did have a good game and the box score is good. And he deserves every bit of the flowers. My sign on this side is Bernard. Like, I'm going to give him all the flowers today, but the way he was able to play and fly around is because, once again, and this is 3 weeks running, the Bills' defensive line looks like the most dominant unit I've seen under the Sean McDermott defense. And that's just going to make life for everybody behind that so much easier. And you're just seeing them reap the benefits of that. And so kudos to them that fumble happens because of the type of disruption they're able to create. A lot of these plays were pressure interceptions, things that the defensive line was doing to cause a lot of the chaos today.
Yeah, heck, one of the most impressive plays, mentally, that didn't even count was when Terrell Bernard pre-snap called out the play that was coming from Washington and then ran up and had a tackle for a loss, and it got called back by a defensive penalty and ended up not officially counting on the box score. So he would have had a third tackle for a loss on a play that he called out, moved everybody over and said what was coming, and then ran up and got the tackle for a loss. But like you said, this game started out with Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones showing pressure immediately. Both of them split a sack early and then got another one each later on. They had 3 between the two of them, each of them having 1.5. there was a stretch there where Leonard Floyd just decided, yeah, I'm going to take over the game and just stop
Double
anything.
dip some sacks.
Oh my God. So he comes one with a really good hustle coverage sack that he got back off a second move. And then the next time he had the snap count down to a science, and the right tackle just had no chance. He was literally by him before the tackle could like wave his arms at him and had this like weird bendy dip move and was on Sam Howell before he could do anything. Greg Rousseau got one late. AJ Epinesa ended up getting a nice cleanup sack at the end and had an awesome, like, almost like the JJ Watt play, if you remember back from the EJ Manuel days, like defensive lineman jumping up and be like, oh, the ball's like in me now. And just running with it for a touchdown. Just an incredible day. And the defensive line, to your point, deserves all those flowers. They were setting up guys. And without them, a guy at Terrell Bernard's size isn't going to be able to do what he did today, let alone today, isn't going to be able to function. You need the defensive line keeping him clean to be able to allow any of those things to happen.
And it's great because, the story all week was, and it should be, I'm not trying to take anything away from what Washington's defensive line is, and that should be a talking point going into any game against them. But the talk was all week was that, and how can that disrupt Josh Allen and turn Josh Allen into the type of the game that we actually saw from Sam Howell. And really, that kind of frustrated me about going into this game, because I really thought the conversation should have been with how good the Bills' defenses looked, and the data backs it up with their ability to create pressures and the way they've been playing, and they've played better teams and played better QBs. And so I thought the conversation should really be the young quarterback coming in against a really good defensive line and how he's going to stand up. And I think the Bills defense might have even taken that type of thing personally, the way they were playing today and getting pressure on Howell. Because, I mean, teams have been able to get pressure on him, but this was the Bills defensive line displayed the way everybody said Washington's wasn't going to today.
Yeah. And I think there was a lot of people questioning, oh yeah, we'll see if that Raiders game was real. The Washington defensive line is so much deeper than Las Vegas. And I think you said, pre-show, a lot of people gave you a hard time for your prediction and your confidence on Wednesday night. And I don't know that you expected.
I just had like a 10-point win too. Yeah.
You were just predicting like, hey, they'll slightly cover the spread. It was a touchdown spread.
My
you
point
had them
was
a little
like
bit higher.
One of these teams is elite, and the other one I think is like mediocre in the hunt for maybe being in the playoffs, right? And like that's kind of what we saw.
Yeah. It's we'll see. I think that today showed, hey, this is a really good team, a really deep team. The Bills didn't play their best today. We'll talk about it when we get to the offense and the kind of quarter by quarter stretch here. The Bills didn't play a perfect game today. There was a lot of opportunities left on the field. So being able to win as decisively is what this ended up looking on a game that, we talked about it here. If each of those field goal drives end up ending in touchdowns, you're talking about like a 49-0 game. So they left a lot on the field, and to still win as dominatingly as they have certainly makes a huge difference. So we'll see where that goes. Before we flip over and talk about our offense, which there's certainly way more good than bad on offense, let's share a little bit about what people can do to support us here at Cover One. Many people ask us the best way to support us here at Cover One, and that is to sign up to become a Cover One Pass member. That contribution helps give us the access to all the data and information we use to create the content that you love.
And I think most importantly, brings you into our community of insiders. It's a great community based on Slack. I know a lot of people don't want to be on social media anymore, be in on those conversations. We bring all of it to you right in our great community of educated fans. And most importantly, you get access to our content creators.
Even better than that, everybody loves merch. You get awesome t-shirts, a cool decal, and a letter from the Cover One team signed directly to you.
All for $60. That gets you the entire season, next year's free agency and draft. $60. Click the link in the description. Cover One Insider. Become one today.
All right, so flipping over to the offensive side of the ball, I won't lie. Like I hadn't really paid attention for a while because it was pretty much cruise control through the whole fourth quarter. As I'm like prepping and getting stuff ready, I got my notes here, and I flip over to the box score, and I was like, Josh was 20 of 32. 218 yards, one touchdown, one interception. I was like, I kind of thought it was better than that. He had 3 rushes for 46 yards. He slid twice, which was fantastic. He ran for a touchdown. We were in control the whole game. There was some weird stuff we'll talk about in some of the like decision making and timing of play calls and things, but it's amazing that we had this dominant of a game, and Josh Allen was kind of, his stat line was kind of meh.
Yeah. I mean, I think it just shows the types of ways this team can win, though, right? Like you had a dominant performance from your defense, and honestly, until the game got a little bit out of hand, probably halfway through the second half, this sort of felt a little bit frustrating for a moment. It felt similar to some of those, what was it, the 2019 team, where it was the defense just keeping them in these games, and it was still a 2-score game at that point, maybe a 16-0 or something like that, and it's like, you're just kind of giving this team an opportunity that if they generate a few explosives, that they can find a way back in this game. And it shouldn't have been like that. This game at halftime should have been 30-0. The way the defense was playing, type of turnovers you're creating, where you were getting the ball. The Bills like to talk about having a well-rounded game where it complements each other, complementary football. And it wasn't. For probably 2/3 of this game wasn't totally complementary, because the way the defense was playing, really, this game should have been up in the 30s by halftime. And it took a while for them to translate the domination that we saw into a dominant score on the scoreboard.
Hey, I'll be honest. So the drive that ended the third quarter, we'll go play by through our normal timeline here in a minute, so we'll get to this. But when we turn it over on downs, on hey, the ball got tipped, it was going to be to Stefon Diggs. He would have actually had room to catch it and run for a good chunk of yards. It got bad at the line of scrimmage. It is what it is.
Whatever.
Before they fumble on the next play, Antonio Shaq Lawson causes the fumble, or Taron Johnson causes it, Terrell Bernard falls on it. Before that, it ran through my head. It's in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, God, we've dominated this game, but technically it's 16-0. We're only up by 2 scores. We just gave them the ball. If they have some fluky Terry McLaurin or Brian Robinson breakaway play, like the Breece Hall run, or like some of the crap, that this is the moment where it went wrong in New York in week 1. We were winning by a similar amount on week 1. And all of a sudden, a couple dumb things happened in a game that we controlled the entire game. We somehow gave back. And the moment caught me. I was like, don't do something stupid here. You've dominated this entire game. They have no right to be in this. And then literally the floodgates opened. We get the turnover, score a touchdown, then interception return for a touchdown, then another touchdown. And it looked like the blowout it should have been, because we were dominating the game up to that point. But that moment went through my mind where I was like, God, we saw this 2 weeks ago. Don't do that. Don't let a team that doesn't deserve to get back in this game get in it. And I'm really glad to see that they didn't, and that they took control of it. But that offensive performance, some of it, and hey, I did get my banner ready. They're like, I'm not going to complain. This is a great game. But, I swear to God, the first 5 2nd and 10s were all inside handoffs straight into their $2 $50 million defensive tackles, 5 runs for a total of 1 yard. Every single time, just making it 3rd and 10. Yeah, it makes me crazy. We played great. It's fine. Just because Josh can convert 3rd and long doesn't mean you have to make him. It's okay to not do that. There's a couple others later in the game. One of them went for 8 yards, and there was a halfway decent one. It just makes me crazy that we have to make it a little harder on ourselves than what we need to. It's terribly inefficient play call, and we did it 5 straight times.
I don't have the problem with it you do. I don't think it's as inefficient like league-wide. I don't think the Bills have had great success with it, and it ends up, I think it just comes back to offensive rules. And while that can be frustrating, I would have to go back and watch, but my guess is Josh probably checks into a lot of these.
No.
He's just
I'm actually not even laying it at Dorsey's feet. It is a combo of Josh and Dorsey of letting this happen, and that, hey, if they give us this certain look, we need to be able to check into that and go through there. It just, it makes me crazy. It just makes me crazy.
Yeah. It's one thing I will say back to the not running away with this earlier in the game. I didn't have the same level of like, oh man, this could get back to that Jets game, only because while Josh didn't light up the stat line, the offense always looked steady in this game. There was the
Yeah.
Washington defensive line did not take advantage of this game the way that the Jets were able to do and get Josh frantic and get in sugar high Josh, or even really creating that type of stuff in the run game. Like the Bills seem to always be moving forward. Drives would stall out, and I expect that against a similar, right? This is Ron Rivera, Sean McDermott, similar tree defense where they're going to keep those big plays, try to limit some of that stuff and make you do these big drives and hope to limit the points and do bend but don't break. So you expect some of that, and they're a talented defense, but what I didn't see that I did kind of expect was they never really got the push along the defensive line. When they did, Josh had the right step, right? He stepped right up into the pocket, made it so nobody even really got clean touches on him. He was clean for the day. And that was something that, even as confident as I was in this game, I didn't expect. So to me, that's a kudos to a mix of Josh and a mix of the offensive line, Cromer and Dorsey, of going against a defensive line and defensive unit like this and keeping Josh clean throughout a game. And in these types of conditions, I'll take some of the good with the bad, but that's the good that I didn't expect at all. I expected it to be a tough day where there was going to be some moments where the pressure would cause Josh to do some of the things Sam Howell did.
Yeah. So speaking of keeping him clean, the official record will show that there were 0 sacks and 1 quarterback hit, and the 1 quarterback hit was Josh flopping out of bounds, trying to sell that they gave Montez Sweat a quarterback hit on that one when it was literally all Josh trying to flop and get a play call. But like you said, kudos to the offensive line, kept Josh clean. This is a killer front four. Chase Young was back healthy. Montez Sweat has been killing it. Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen. That defensive line is unbelievable. Not only 4 first-round picks, 4 top 10 picks, I think, except for maybe Sweat. Just an unbelievable amount of talent and investment in that. And to have 0 sacks given up and then to flip it, and not always super efficient, but they stayed dedicated to the run and ended up with 33 carries for 168 yards, 5.1 yards a carry. And, some of that was some kneel down.
James Cook is a king of some of this garbage time explosive plays, though. That's
that 34-yarder late boosting up his stats. Hey, they all count the box score.
And those poor fantasy people, though, the people that just go nuts over fantasy, that should have been a touchdown, and he just got tripped up right at the end of that one.
They even put him back in, and I thought maybe he was going to get the touchdown. Latavius Murray ended up converting it.
It's going to be a thing all year for those. It's going to just grind those fantasy people out.
Oh yeah, he's now going to be 6th in the NFL in rushing yards with 0 touchdowns and make people crazy. So again, kudos there. Damian Harris did his job. Latavius Murray did his job. James Cook looked good and ran tough for the 198-pounder that he is. Josh Allen contributed perfectly. 3 carries for 46 yards and sliding every single time.
Responsibly.
The one time that he did keep going was because there was actually a lot more yardage, and he turned it into a 23-yard run and ended up kind of falling forward at the one spot. So he didn't take a big hit, but he didn't give up and slide at that point because he saw a good chunk more yardage available. I hate playing the results, and I got into it with somebody on Twitter because on rare occasions, that Gabe Davis end around or inside give on the kind of a jet sweep back, we've never seen that. And if that hits and he goes for a 15-yard run or a touchdown, we're like, oh my God, that's awesome. That's a trick play we've never seen before. That's fantastic. And it didn't, because Jonathan Allen is a monster and blew the play up and got into the backfield on penetration. But that didn't make it a bad call. That was a really unexpected, creative offensive wrinkle. But people play the results and oh, look at that. You're trying to get cute and fancy. Well, they have an awesome defensive line. You can't just smash into the middle over and over again. You need some misdirection, and it didn't work. But
it did work later. Some misdirection later.
We had a couple of those.
And that, what I would urge people when they get upset on that type of stuff too is keep it in the bank, because they will draw back to that play at some point. It might not be the give to Davis, but they'll bring that play back and they'll bring that look back and they'll play something else off of it and it'll look a little different, it probably hits the next time. That is just how some of this stuff works. Is every play is designed to work and will work under the right circumstances. But when Payne comes barreling through and gets Gabe as soon as you're handing it off, it looks stupid on TV, but trust me, that play is designed to do what you said, Greg, to get him out in space and make it hard to tackle against DBs and get that 15-yard explosive.
Talk about some of the Bills fantasy fans. This was the game that I think some people were yelling at you on Twitter that this is how they think our passing offense should look like. Stefon Diggs, 12 targets. Everyone else, 16.
But still
it was the
spread out.
Stefon Diggs show. And then beyond that, another 8 more guys caught the ball, but everybody else was one or two catches.
Yeah.
And then Stefon Diggs 8 for 111, and then 8 other guys had 12 catches, but just distributed all around the place for everywhere else.
Nobody can win on that one though, Greg, because like there'll be people that come in the mentions with like, oh well, Diggs needs whatever 12 to 15, but then in a game like this where he gets them, then everyone's gonna be pissed that Gabe Davis isn't getting number 2 targets. Like, you know what I mean? There's only one ball to go around. It's hard to get those other targets spread around a little bit, but yeah, no, it is good to see Diggs getting his, especially in the homecoming game too, right? For Diggs.
Yes, and you could tell there's a lot of fans there for him. He was really excited about today. For anyone who is a savvy bettor, this would have been a really smart game to bet the Stefon Diggs overs as a homecoming game. You knew Josh was going to feed him the ball.
He had 230. He had 2. I was looking at toxic differential and explosives. He had 2 30-yard plays for himself today. So good day, Diggs.
Absolutely. I would say the one surprise was it felt early like this might be a Dalton Kincaid game. He had 2 catches on the first drive, and then no more targets the rest of the game. He did have a couple penalties, which I guess you got to be careful or conscious of, but I just thought it felt like, oh, this is going to be a big Kincaid game, and then all of a sudden he kind of faded a little bit. So we'll see where that comes in the field. Again, we didn't need to push the ball down the field. They talked about some of the game management discussions, and some of the times against other teams, we would have gone for a few more of the fourth downs when we kick field goals, at least 2 of them. If this was the Bengals or the Chiefs or Miami next week, we would have gone for it. But they knew against Sam Howell, it's okay to take the points and give it back to them because they're not going to be able to do much with the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of explosives, we haven't really talked about toxic differential a lot this year, but I have to bring it up for this game because I'm still tracking it. Dude, this game was again a little off the chart. So I try to give enough room in my notes for every team based on just how usual a game goes. But this one, I almost ran out of room for the Bills here. And so they ended up with 13 explosive plays to the Commanders 4. And so again, though, that's what I'm saying. I look at that score and really, we'll talk about it here with a little bit of the offense and some of the lulls that they had there. But honestly, I know this defense is good, but this game should have looked closer to what Miami was doing today. The way that the Bills played the type of game that should have been almost historic. The way they were able to take over the ball, generate explosives, really do all they wanted to until it came to getting the ball past the 40.
Yeah. It was very much in control and things that we would have seen some different possibilities there. So we'll see where those pieces go. Let's go through some of the drives and the game flow here. Obviously, it started out with kind of a promising drive, 11 plays, 57 yards, and again, you saw the quick pass to Kincaid. We converted on a third down. Again, it was 3rd and 10 because we ran the ball in second and long.
Right.
Then we kept going, moving down, hit the nice big one to Stefon Diggs, which
after another 2nd and long, I think. Run. Maybe.
It was that one again.
Ended up in 3rd and 8, so it wasn't like a no yard law or whatever.
Yeah, down in the red zone was actually the one that did frustrate me. In shotgun, they go incomplete on 1st down, and they do that inside shotgun give kind of right into the middle again. And I know it's one where it's hypocritical. It's great when it works, but it set up 3rd and long. We took a shot again on 3rd down, 4th and 9. That's not even a question. You have to take the field goal.
Yeah.
It's just one of those where the reason I get frustrated with the 2nd and long runs is it doesn't need to be 3rd and 9 and 4th and 9. If you get it down to 3rd and 4, all of a sudden now maybe you make a different decision that gives you a chance to maybe run the ball, or one of those rollout ones where Josh could run it or dump it off short and you get it to 4th and 1 and now you have a choice. Otherwise here, you don't have a choice and you kick it and it's the right thing to do. But those are the times where it gets frustrating that I'm not sure what the goal or net outcome is in those 2nd and long runs against a team with a front like this. There's some teams where we probably can gash more. I didn't expect that to work coming into this game, so I'm surprised they did it as often as they did. But we get the field goal, we go back, and at this point, it kind of felt like that initial scripted Raiders opening drive where Washington's moving their way down the field. Brian Robinson is a tough runner. Sam Howell, although obviously the man got sacked 9 times, he holds onto the ball way too long.
Quite a bit, yeah.
When he does have his feet set, and does throw the ball, he's got an arm. Like
Sure.
he's more talented of a thrower than I thought. I hadn't done a ton of work on Sam Howell. I watched last week's game, and everybody talked about holding the ball. I didn't expect a lot, but when he throws it, he's talented. He just holds on to the ball forever. But we get it down there, and you get it to the point where we're able to get it. And here, Terrell Bernard climbs the ladder and goes up and gets an awesome interception that I don't even know how he physically got to that ball at his house.
Before that happened, though, so they were driving, right? They, like you said, McLaurin had a first down, then Cole Turner gets that 20-yarder to get them on the board for an explosive right out of the gate. And then
down
after
to our
that,
25. Down to our 25.
Yeah, they're moving the ball here. And then literally I have it listed as sacked by everyone. It ended up being Ed Oliver and Taquan Jones, but
they technically split it with those two, but the whole D-line is there.
Push, 9-yard loss, and then you get another sack from Terrell Bernard on this play. So everyone's going to talk about the interception, but the sack sets up the interception because now you're in that was 2nd and 18 because of the 9-yard loss. So then what was it? 3rd and
2nd and 18, 3rd and 19 because
3rd and 19
the Bernard sack was Howell trying to scramble back.
Yeah, so you're basically 3rd and 20, and in that part of the field where you got a bit of a condensed field and you're benefiting the defense, like that sack really sets up what Bernard is able to do on that crazy 3rd down pick. And that pick is going to be a highlight of the season for you. Are going to see that play over and over again in every highlight of the Bill season. Might be one of the plays of the week that's talked about a lot because defensive players don't go up, like you said, climb the ladder. That was like a wide receiver or a safety, drawn back to safety days, going up and taking a ball out of the air like that.
Yeah, that's a great comp, and you see some of that college Milano film converting to a linebacker, and that's not that kind of exact play, but his coverage ability was the part I was excited about. I don't know that I anticipated as much of the blitzing and the coming forward looking as good as it was, but those kind of plays are kind of what I was hoping for and what I want to see. And I'm going to go back, is I'm going to watch all 9 sacks and some of the other quarterback hits because Sean McDermott was in his bag today. Sean McDermott was sending people from all over the place, and it felt like I want to see the efficiency rates on. Oh, shut up, Siri.
Siri doesn't want to hear it.
She's trying to
McDermott hater
on the discussion. Yeah, see, everybody coming from all sides.
Yeah.
So the effectiveness rate at when we blitzed, how often it worked and either got home or caused the throwaway or caused a good positive play, it felt like it was 80%. I'm sure it wasn't actually 80%, but it felt like every time somebody came from an off angle, it worked. And we had different people dropping from different places. A couple times it was legit blitzes with 5 people coming, but all day Howell and the Washington offensive line had no clue which 4 guys were coming. It was just happening over and over again where we were dropping 7. They just had no clue which 4 guys were coming. And it was getting home over and over and over again. On that Terrell Bernard one, it was a genuine blitz. He was the 5th guy coming on that 3rd and long or on the 2nd and long. But on the other ones, it was other guys dropping out all the time. So I'm excited to go back and watch that when we get the film breakdown to be able to see, hey, how was Sean scheming this up? Because this was the most aggressive we've seen him so far, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. One, I had a great GIF usage where I put Sean McDermott's face over Pootie Tang, where he's like spanking the dude and that is Sean McDermott's defense against young rookie quarterbacks. And that's another reason why I was so confident in a matchup like this. And everyone's talking about how did the Commanders get to Josh Allen and get him to play that sugar high Jets game, Josh, that we saw. And all I saw when I watched the Commanders couple games and so far what the Bill season's been able to do is, man, I think the guy that's going to really look like sugar high Josh is going to be Sam Howell in this game. And it showed up in that way. This is a very aggressive defense, a very good defense. I think, we talked about Terrell Bernard being the player of the game. The game ball should really go probably to Sean McDermott, what he's been able to do in dialing up this defense. Everyone talks about how vanilla and conservative this defense is and how it's been. And maybe under Frazier at times it was, but it's always been exotic. And you don't just play a vanilla conservative defense and confuse every young rookie quarterback or young quarterback that comes into the league. Eric Bieniemy's no joke. He's seen every type of defense. Yeah. We had a great conversation this week, Greg, in Spaces, which I don't always say is not always a great conversation in Spaces, but this one was, and there were some fans. There was a Commanders fan and a dude that's a KC fan, And they brought up some great points of like, it really wasn't like the game within the game was Sean McDermott versus Eric Bieniemy and how that was going to play out, and having known each other for so long and going against each other in some big games. And their point was having Eric Bieniemy in Howell's ear, and what he wasn't going to see any looks that Bieniemy wasn't ready for. And I don't know that that's true today. Like, I think Sean McDermott showed them some stuff that they weren't totally ready to see from this defense and how they were playing it. And I think Sean McDermott got the better of one of the best offensive coordinators in football, and it showed up on the scoreboard today. And that's probably not going to get talked about enough because Sean McDermott's not that sexy name and people don't want to give this guy credit.
Yeah. And again, we'll see. It's fine. There are plenty of people listening right now. Oh, let's see when it matters. Let's see against a different team. And you're right.
Totally.
We do need to see it against those other teams. We do need to see it in the playoffs. I'm encouraged.
Miami's probably
to see it now.
Points.
Correct. Yeah, I have the feeling we're not going to hold Miami to 3 points. For anyone who's not aware, let me look. Has Miami stopped scoring?
I think they
yet?
Stopped scoring. Yeah,
did they officially stop scoring?
Running out. It ended up at 70-20. Or
the Miami Dolphins had 70 points today with 8 minutes to go. Yeah. So we'll have fun. Take that back. Tom will have fun when he comes on our show Wednesday night to preview this, but that is a test. That is going to be a real test. We'll see what we have. We'll see what we can do with it, but we need to get to it here.
Even if it looks bad against that, we're still good. I will still,
yeah.
That's just that's a whole nother level. Right
now. 70 points is almost an NFL record, so that's bananas.
Yeah.
The next one we get down, we got a couple ugly plays. You'll be shocked. Some of it was because we ran on second and long. We get down. Sam Martin almost uncorked.
What a punt.
The most perfect punt I've ever seen. He literally was 6 inches away from a 69-yard coffin corner that would have gone out of bounds at like the half-yard line. Instead, it was a 70-yard punt that bounced into like 1 foot of the end zone and then came back out and went out of bounds. It was almost like literally the video game perfect punt. It was still an awesome punt. It was still a net 50 yards with the touchback, but he was that close to a 69-yard coffin corner at the half-yard line. Good on Sam Martin.
Even like the wobble coming off that bounce looked like that ball was like gonna come back, maybe. Get some good backspin to it.
It did. I mean, it came back a full yard and a half.
It was crazy.
It bounced forward like 1 foot too soon and then came back. On the backspin.
Right. Yeah. It just what a nice kick from him. But yeah, it ends up going as a touchback. But tough this was where again I start to get frustrated because against a team like this, you get that drive. The first drive, you're going 11 plays, 57 yards, take off almost 6 minutes off the clock, and you walk away with 3. Like, okay. Right. Yeah, it's the Commanders. You can get 3. This isn't the Chiefs, right? So you can live with that. But then you got to get more points. Like you get a big pick like that after they were driving on you, and you can take momentum and just take the air out of the stadium right now. And you go another just 6 plays, and all you get is 14 yards, 2 minutes, and you're just putting the ball right back. That just felt deflating. And I wasn't there yet, but it was almost in one of those like, here we go again. The defense is going to play great, and the offense is just going to keep giving them the ball back and not just take this game and run away with it. And that a little bit where I was at this point.
So the next drive, the Bills force a quick 3-and-out again with a sack with a Terrell Bernard sack, his second sack early. This is with his dominant first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw, honestly, one of the first positive contributions from Deontay Hardy so far. They've made a conscious effort to get Hardy into the game. Today, he had 2 catches for 15 yards, got him out in space a couple times, tried 2 jet sweeps with him. Neither of them really went for much of anything.
Very early had McKenzie role.
Correct. It's been pretty similar. And again, I don't know if we're ever going to know exactly what they had in mind because of they signed him before they drafted Dalton Kincaid. So I think they had a different idea in mind when they signed him. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have a chance to get Dalton Kincaid. We're going to run 12 personnel all the time. And it really limited a lot of his offensive snaps. So I'm so intrigued to see they've tried to get him the ball. They've made it a conscious effort here. He had a really nice punt return, 23-yard punt return plus a 10-yard holding call on top of that. So the Bills start with the ball at the Washington 35. And I want to give a shout out to you guys know him on Twitter as @LowBuffaCeilings. Chris F does writing for us, production for me on the Greg Tompsett Sports Show. When that play happened, he tweeted out, "It's time for a Gabe Davis bomb." And literally the very first play, they go deep to Gabe Davis for a touchdown. It was fantastic.
I got to take over here because this is my West Her drive of the game. And it might not be in terms of importance, right? Because the game didn't totally break away at this point. You still had a little bit of the Bills were kind of trying to let them get back in this game. But to me, this play is one, it's fun to have a drive of the game that's one play, 45 yards, 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Like I don't get to read that.
That's a new one for us.
Yeah, I don't get to read that off every time. So I wanted to just make sure I got that out there. But more importantly, it felt like at this moment, seeing that big play, the confidence they had, the time Josh had to make that play, like it felt like this could be that type of game where we're just making big explosives. Yeah. We've already taken the ball away. The defense looks great. Let's open this thing up. It took a little while to get to opening it up, but I felt like that play gave me that confidence for the day that I was like, man, if we're hitting like this, when Josh is hitting those plays, dude, I just don't feel like there's anyone in the world that can beat us.
Yeah, that pylon route and getting him to the corner there, you put it in a spot where nobody can defend that. If your receiver gets there, it's a touchdown. They almost hit on another one later on the exact same route, same play, 22-yarder instead of 35-yarder. There's Chris. Yeah. That was fantastic. It was perfect timing for his goal. He called the Herr Drive of the game. And I think that's a great call. I think that it was actually really hard to pick out the Herr Drive of the game. I have one later that it's going to be the touchdown drive that puts it away. So we'll bring it back up and give our friends at Herr some shine twice
double dip
during the show. Double dip for Herr. But it was great to be able to put them in that situation. And then again here, they come back out. Sam Howell hits Curtis Samuel on the first play, and they get a little something going.
Christian Benford, man, that did not look good for him in film. I'm sure there's some zone coverage responsibilities, and Micah is supposed to have been there, but I don't like the idea of Curtis Samuel and Christian Benford in a race. I don't like that.
And we always know for 6 years now of watching it, the honey hole shot is that is the weak point of our zone defense. Like if you can get one on the sideline, past the zone corner, but outside far enough before the zone safety can get there, you can hit some big plays. When you've got athletes like Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel, sometimes it's going to work. Here, I think that ultimately, I want to go back and watch it again. I think Benford missed his jam and was expecting to get hands on him early, and Samuel got a cleaner release than he expected. So all of a sudden now Benford's chasing. We are not a team that needs to be chasing anybody's wide receivers.
But that's why like people used to get so mad at Levi or Dane being in off coverage. Those are the reasons you have less athletic guys a little bit in off coverage.
Yeah, you got to give yourself space because you know that you can't turn and run. You can't turn and chase with those guys. So again, they get that going. We then give up a defensive penalty. Get that again, Terry McLaurin. Then we get a crazy scramble for Sam Howell where they had
a drunk a little bit.
So
you're just kind of like falling forward to 19 yards back and forth like a pinball.
At the end of this play, if we have the independent neurological consultant on the sideline watching guys, he got smoked in the face and then his helmet hit the ground and then he got up and literally like video game wobbled. You're not gonna like I'm not a doctor.
Josh took one of those. I saw that.
How are you like you're not gonna check? Like you're not gonna evaluate? Isn't that the point of having the independent third person there? So again, I'm not wishing anything on him. I'm actually the opposite. The opposite. I'm trying to say like, hey, isn't this the whole point of needing to protect players from themselves? They're never going to check themselves out. But he got smoked on that play, and they let him stay in.
Those are the ones you worry about for Josh, right? Like,
yes.
Staying up and some guy coming in and just getting a clap,
fighting for the extra yard, and that's what happened here. And it was the one you don't expect. He kind of cut back, and as he cut back, Tim Settle, he didn't realize was chasing him from behind, and a 325-pound guy smacked him right in the helmet, and that's what happens. They then try to throw a pass the next play. He throws it over Cole Turner. Then they go back and hit Cole Turner. Really nice,
real close
coverage by Terrell Bernard there in position to tackle him and get him down. Then awesome blitz where you had Ed Oliver and Matt Milano right in his face. Right there, and you have the great coverage by Terrell Bernard again in the end zone, causing a turnover on downs. Bills getting the ball on the 2-yard line. Really, really good one to be able to hold them out of the end zone. This was another one where, Washington didn't play terrible today, but they couldn't come up clutch any time that it mattered.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have a team on the goal line, right? And it was like
Yeah.
as close to the 1 yard line or like 1 inch line as you could be. That was almost a touchdown from Turner. But again, hats off to this Bills defensive line. They continue to step up, and
Yeah.
especially in the interior, like Daquan Jones and Ed Oliver as a combo right now just feel like it's almost unblockable when they get going. And teams are the runs. If you go back and look, the run success that Washington was able to have, the Bills were still swarming to the ball. There was guys there, and there was just bad ankle tackling getting slipped out of, and they were able to extend some runs. But the core principles of the defense were still there, and the way they're playing on the interior of this defensive line, I haven't seen it in the years that we've been covering the Bills here. You saw Daquan Jones a little bit last year with his ability to penetrate, but Ed Oliver stepped up to that next level that we expected from him probably to pop last year. He's doing it with consistency now through 3 weeks of playing at this level.
Yeah, I think that it's certainly something we need to be excited about. And again, next week could be a great test. We need to show that to get that pressure, because you got to get pressure into his face early to be able to get him off the spot. That's going to be critical next week.
Yeah.
So the Bills start with the ball on their own 2-yard line, pretty conservative early. Obviously, you're not trying to at this point.
You almost feel like a throwaway
2,
drive, right? Like take some time, get a punt, and just save the fact that you saved that touchdown.
Yeah, your goal is to give Sam Martin space. Yeah. Your goal is not to punt with the defensive line right there in his face. So a quick run to Damian Harris, another run to Damian Harris. We get it to 3rd and 4. That's, you're getting to yourself in better shape. And then honestly, a nice play by Josh and Khalil Shakir. Shakir, leans forward,
Beasley
gets the first down. Yeah, really nice play. Yeah, shout out to him. Come right back that we get another run, and then a Dalton Kincaid penalty there. That one, it was, I think the announcers were correct. It was actually on Dawson Knox for not getting set.
Yes.
He was supposed to be set, and then Kincaid was supposed to move.
Announcers were not good for the game.
God.
Poor PFF grading.
Yeah, well, heck, talk about the announcer was like trying to act like they gave us a gift on the Khalil Shakir first down. He was easily.
I know. My wife was like, "That looks like he's like pretty
comfortably over the line,
a whole yard and a half."
The announcer was like, "Oh, quite a spot!" Like, what are you talking about? Like, that wasn't even that close. So that then they keep going a little bit. Here's where we get the really nice Josh Allen run and the slide. He ran and slid. It was delightful. Go right back to it. We come back with another nice chunk play to Stefon Diggs. He's flexing his hand a little bit.
Seeing him hurt at all. I don't like that.
Yeah, checking his elbow. We weren't exactly sure about what was going on there.
Set out one play and then is back after that.
Correct. So. Immediately back. So thank God. Obviously everything was good there.
Don't want that.
Back-to-back plays to Deontay Hardy, tried to end around and then got it back to him on a quick little bubble. Damian Harris had a nice conversion there. I love that setup. And again, I'm not trying to hammer this over and over again. When you have a productive play on 2nd and long that gets it to 3rd and short, you now have optionality where when you line up in shotgun and they're expecting the pass, now countering with a run is getting them by surprise, and they're not sure that it's coming. Damian Harris has actually popped a couple of those, both of them on 3rd and 2, for some nice gains, and that you're able to have more options that are there. Here, actually, Josh Allen did take one hit because Montez Sweat did technically sack him, but it got called back on a really ticky-tack Dalton Kincaid tripping penalty. If anything, it actually probably should have been holding, because he kind of grabbed the inside of his leg to stop him from going by. And I guess technically, because it's your leg, it's tripping, but that's 15 yards instead of 10 yards.
Your arm,
yeah. And even then, it was kind of a ticky-tack call, but whatever. That makes it 1st and 25. Now we're in weird shape. Diggs gets 9. We then get another penalty. Sherfield gets 9. We get it down to 3rd and 12. And here's another one where, yes, I don't mind if at that point on 3rd and 12, you're at the 32-yard line. It's a 50-yard field goal. We know Bass is fine from 50. I actually don't mind a shot play and going down the field and trying to just see if Diggs or Gabe can make a play on something. They go the other way because you're expecting on 3rd and 12 for them to be guarding the sticks and to have off coverage and just keeping everything in front of them. We didn't know Washington was going to counter with press and coming in. So they're expecting that a quick bubble screen with blockers in front from Stefon Diggs is a free 6 to 8 yards, and maybe he breaks it for a first down, but you make it a 44, 42-yard field goal, and you just see if you can give yourself a chance. It looked bad because they countered at the right time.
And played it
But
well, yeah.
that's playing the results.
Actually,
that
in
play
this,
call's not bad.
in these like around 2-minute offense type situations, and in those situations it has worked. Even go back to Dable, those types of plays in these situations work, where if you get the blockers out in space and you get some free yardage because people are playing off. So I get the idea behind it.
Yeah.
So
again,
it sucks to lose the 4 yards there if you don't have Tyler Bass. Like, I feel
correct.
much better.
That could
knowing
matter
that
for
Tyler
some teams.
Bass. Yeah.
Tyler Bass from 54 yards
in wet conditions all week.
With wet conditions, the field was a mess. He striped that dead center 2/3 of the way up the uprights. Like, it would have been good at least from 65, maybe longer. Absolutely dead center. Just a killer field goal that, again, we have an amazing kicker. We don't have to worry about things like that. It's such
I actually hope
nice.
the way he's already started for this year, I hope that it continues. I think, he's also very consistent. I hope he gets more of the honors and accolades and discussion for those things, because I do think if he continues to creep in with this type of consistency and also adding in some of the big kicks he's able to do, like, I think the conversation needs to start where he's up in that category of some of the best kickers
with
in the
Tucker
league.
Bucker and McPherson. So all it takes is doing it in the playoffs. You talk about Evan McPherson. Tyler Bass has better numbers than Evan McPherson. His stats are better, but Evan McPherson won 3 straight playoff games. And you need to do it in clutch moments that people remember, and that's really where the national notoriety comes from when those things come in. So again, the Bills are up 13-0. You're still kind of like, all right, we're doing okay. They passed to McLaurin. They passed to Cole Turner. They're in decent shape. They got a 3rd down to be able to go and try to make a play. And Sam Howell again is kind of pressured and throws a just really choreographed pass to Antonio Gibson that Micah Hyde saw from a mile away. And Micah Hyde jumped like 10 feet in the air and had to catch the ball like between his thighs because he jumped so high to get the ball, and it came down, intercepted the ball. His first interception since 2021, because he didn't get one before he got hurt early last year. Amazing to see Micah back with that kind of athleticism still.
And crazy play. Great to see. He almost just like suffocated that ball in midair.
Oh my God.
Like enveloped it. And but that should have been a pick 6 for him if he didn't jump. So he didn't need to do the jump that he did for that play.
Correct. He could have done the remember the fun pirouette that he did on the
something like that.
The onside kick attempt where he like caught it and spun in the air and just kept running. It could have been one of those for a pick 6.
Yeah, he could have had himself one there, but still
he's too athletic for his own good.
Poyer had a nice big hit. He came out and made a big hit on a play, and I think both needed something to happen like that. So like Micah needed to get his hands on a ball here soon, and Poyer needed to come in and make something go, because I don't think the play has probably been as bad as Bills Mafia feels, because they've seen them look bad on a couple of the bigger plays. But obviously this defense is playing well, and you don't have 2 safeties playing at a terrible level and still have the success that you're having. But it's good to see them get some big plays that get a little bit of notoriety. Here, I got to plug in my computer. A rookie mistake. I didn't put the plugger.
I got you. So then after the interception, the Bills now have the ball at the Washington 33. They got 1:15 left. We get a quick little check down to James Cook, then a handoff to him where he's able to bring it forward. Here at the 29-yard line, I think this is an interesting debate. It's a 1st down. We're at the Washington 22. We've still got all 3 timeouts, so time is not an issue when you're at the 22. I probably would have taken a timeout after we got the 1st down and would have stopped it at like 104 or 102 instead of letting it run all the way down to 36 when we ran the next play. But we had all 3 timeouts, so it wasn't going to be an issue. It ended up not mattering because we had an incompletion to Deontay Hardy. Then we took a deep shot to Gabe with that pylon. He did catch it. He had 1 foot in, and the second one was just barely out. If he toe taps it there, we're all celebrating over what an amazing 2-minute drill that they ran.
And we have the best number 2 wide receiver in the NFL, and go crazy.
He would have 2 touchdowns and it would have looked fantastic. We then go back. We actually have a nice play. Deontay Hardy almost gets out there for the 1st down, gets 8 yards on 3rd and 10. Again, this is one of the spots I talked about earlier where if this is KC or Baltimore or the Chargers or the Dolphins, we probably do go for it here on 4th and 2 with timeouts left in hand. We end up kicking the field goal. It's fine. I don't love anytime 4th and 2 at the 14. I'll take my chances with Josh Allen every single time against Sam Howell. It's not the end of the world. It's fine.
You just stole a possession though, like
correct.
legitimately
It's
stole.
a
So
gimme.
here's my just to add to it, right? Like I tweeted out after the Bills go up 13-0. There's a minute 55 left. I tweeted it out because we talk about it every time the Bills get this situation, right? Right now you're in a double dip situation, which is the double dip is perfect for two things. If you're up on a team and you're just trying to get a blowout and get a nice whole arm's length, you get to steal two possessions back to back, right? You score and then you get the ball back. That doesn't happen really otherwise in football without these types of turnovers that the Bills get here. And so, or it works so that when you're down 13-0, you have an opportunity to get back in a game without creating.
They could have gotten back into this game.
Correct. And so you get the ball at 155, and that's exactly the way I tweet. Like, this is the Commander's opportunity to correct this and go down any type of score, even ending with a field goal, just getting some points on the board so you can pull this lead down. And almost the worst possible. If Micah Hyde gets the actual pick six, that's the worst possible situation. But
or Gabe Davis drags a toe.
Yeah, turn the ball over 3 plays in. Yeah. And so, but to your point of being at 4th and 2, you've literally stolen a possession out of this and ruined the opportunity for them to double dip and get back. And you now have an opportunity to flip that on them and score and get your own sort of stolen double dip here at the end of the half and just totally put this game away. And that's where it's a little too conservative for my liking of, I feel pretty good that if you don't get those 3 points, we're still having a pretty similar outcome to this game. Like, I don't know that your win percentage changes a whole lot between the 13 and 16 at halftime. And so for me, I'm going for 6, like at least to your point, setting up the timeouts and stuff like that to be able to make that call to go for 6. Cause I also want that live look for when we are playing Baltimore or Kansas City or whoever it is, Miami, and we need those points. Show me you can do it now.
Yeah, correct. So, again, this nitpicking, I don't, and again, it's game specific. I actually feel pretty confident.
The nitpicking will matter next week, though, Greg.
Correct. So that's what I mean, though. Next week, I think they do go for it. I do think against Miami, when touchdowns are more important than field goals, you do go for it. When you can tell that Sam Howell doesn't have it, I get it. It's okay. Now, again, that bit them against the Jets because the Jets didn't have it either in a couple weird fluky plays that if we didn't settle for 3 earlier and went for it. So I think there's a case to be made that consistent aggression is worthwhile in regardless of opponent. But I get it. I respect it. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. They still got the points, knew they were going to get it. They took away Washington's chance for a double dip. Here at halftime, I'm going to take a quick moment. Appreciate you guys that he's giving away my money. Apparently, he's got my bank.
You earned a bunch in Vegas, so I mean, you're flush right now.
I did fine. It was a good day. It was a good trip. So everybody here, we have 576 people in here watching live, which is awesome. Aaron and I appreciate you guys every single time. Please press the like button right now. Just take a quick moment. I'll wait for you. Go press the like button. That's how you tell other people that you're having a good time. We're gonna take a break and take a quick drink of water while you press the like button.
Honestly, we'll take a little break here because you know what, Greg? We go for an hour straight. We still have game to cover here. We've been talking for an hour straight, no breaks, just going. Yeah, so help us out with a like. That's not too much to ask, is it?
Yeah, it's reasonable. All right. So thank you for everyone who went and did give us a like there. So as they come back from half, they come back out. Washington does get the ball again. Brian Robinson's a good player. Like I won't lie. I didn't watch a lot of Washington last year. They just weren't ever really on my radar. There wasn't a lot of nationally televised games. There wasn't a lot going on in those different scenarios. So, I didn't expect a ton from them. Brian Robinson's tough. That dude runs hard.
He is.
I like him.
Gibson's really nice too. Like,
that's a nice one too. I
was shocked how much Bieniemy went away from trying to really grind that out with the way the level of production they were getting out of the drive.
It's the only success they're having.
It really seemed weird to me that earlier on, especially at this game, stayed so close that they didn't try. And obviously, this opening drive, they really work that. And unfortunately, once they start passing, it goes away and shows why they probably should have leaned into it even more. But very good backfield for there. They just got to stay patient with it.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. They continue pushing the ball down the field. One, Matt Milano had a missed tackle on the one bigger run by Robinson that he ripped off for 23 yards.
Yeah.
Gibson comes right back with a 13-yarder. It's kind of one of those like, oh, come on, don't let them get something going here from a rushing standpoint. And then Mario, they're helping us out. Appreciate you, brother. so as they get going, then all of a sudden they get away from the run, and they're in a position where they probably could have run the
in
ball
the red
again.
zone. Yeah.
In the red zone, kept going with Robinson and Gibson, and instead Shaq Lawson is there, gets pressure on Sam Howell, forces a pass that is easily read by Trey White. I thought it was actually very good commentary here by who was the quarterback in the booth? Trent Green?
Yeah. Was it
Trent
Trent Green?
I don't remember who it was.
I tried to ignore the broadcast for almost
Yeah, I
as much
do
of
zone it
as I
out
could,
most
yeah.
of the time. But read it right where Trey had outside leverage the entire time, was never really faked on the double move, and then he still tried to throw it there, and Trey was like, "Oh, thank you," and jumped over top of Dotson and just easily took the ball for a gimme touchdown. Oh, Matt Ryan, there we go. It was Matt Ryan.
Matt
in the
Ryan,
booth.
big time rookie play.
Yeah.
In
So,
that situation.
Sam Howell telegraphed that one a gimme for Trey White, but still, shouts to Trey White for getting back on the horse and getting himself an interception.
Yeah, I thought Trey White had a number of plays today where Terry McLaurin is a tough guard, and there was a couple early on where it looked like, hey, maybe I'm talking about them going to the run game. Another thing they probably should have done a little bit more of is force the ball to Terry. I know they didn't have a ton of success, and Sam Howell holds on to the ball a little bit long, but every time, to your point, when he gets the ball out quick, it's a nice throw, and Terry McLaurin just was almost unguardable to really anybody. In the same way Diggs is. Diggs is always wide open, and nobody can guard him. Terry McLaurin is that kind of guy, and so I expected he was going to have some receptions and some of them were going to be against Trey, but I thought Trey played really nice. He looked explosive. He looked like he was jumping at the ball multiple times, getting in there, making plays. So good to see from him, like you said.
Absolutely. So that's the kind of game where, we need to have some confidence there. Every corner is going to look bad against your Trey White. I promise you next week, Tyreek Hill's going to get everybody because Tyreek Hill's ridiculous. Of course, he's going to get everybody. There is no corner in the NFL who's locking down Tyreek Hill. It's just not the way that it works. So here we get the pick. They mark him down at like the 1 yard line again. So we have another drive that starts at like the 1 yard line. This one, instead of running the ball, they run a nice play action on first down. Washington was expecting it, and Josh hit Stefon Diggs, where Stefon did like the funniest, like kind of a dance and then a juke and then a little more of a dance and then a juke, and like had a bunch of like things where it's like, all right, fine. And then he just kind of like crumpled down in one spot. It was hysterical to see he was having his way with him. They move down then Trent Sherfield gets his first catch. Shout out to him. He's been, out there busting his butt with run defense, and he had a couple chances for some nice plays. He did really well there. Then a 10-yard run from James Cook. Then we get the scramble. And here, I will say, out of anything today, if we point out something that can't happen next week, I will say we did shoot ourselves in the foot on a couple drives from a penalty standpoint, where we had some penalties that just set us up into 3rd and 20s, 2nd and 20s, things like that, which are really hard to overcome. That happened here, on 3rd and 20. Do I really care if Josh throws a 41-yard interception or if Sam Martin punts the ball inside the 20? I really don't. They're about the same thing. From a stat standpoint, from all the people who try to yell at us about Josh Allen has the most turnovers in the NFL the last X amount of years. I guess I'd prefer that we didn't feed into that discussion. But in the grand scheme of things, having that or having a turnover there, someone's at your front door.
Someone's at my house. I don't like that. Get away.
Is at your house.
No, I don't know who it is. I don't know who it
again. It's not the end of the world, but he throws an arm punt. They get it down there. And again, this defense doesn't let anything happen, but it was because of exactly what we talked about before. They turn it over. Brian Robinson, tough 6-yard run. Brian Robinson, tough 13-yard run. Immediately go back to the pass. Leonard Floyd sack. And then on 3rd down, just gets completely blown up, where they take it back and have back-to-back plays where there was kind of a blown up screenplay that Robinson broke for a little bit on a penalty, take him back, more pressure, and a tackle for a loss. And they just, every time they got away from the run, they couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, no, I do want to circle back real quick. I got distracted with my doorbell ringing there, but on the 3rd and 20 punt conversation, I don't mind it. Like, I actually like the benefit that you get from putting the ball out there on a situation like that.
Oh, taking a shot is fine. Taking a shot is fine.
Taking a shot's fine. The worst case scenario is the interception. And to your point, it's annoying to have to talk about the totals with Josh, but like those ones are fine.
If I'm gonna nitpick anything, Gabe Davis is our biggest receiver. I'd love to see. I just don't remember a ton of contested catches. Like, I'd love to see him go up and fight for that. You're our biggest guy. Go up and fight for it a little bit more.
Or at least try to initiate some contact, right? Because that's the other benefit of a situation like that is it favors the offense to be in a situation where you got a big receiver one-on-one. More times than not, you're going to net a positive, whether it's a flag, whether it's coming up with that catch. An incompletion is still fine because you're going to punt it anyway. And the punt is okay because you were going to probably punt it anyway. So all those situations end up being a fine thing for the offense. I don't hate that situation at all.
Yeah. So, again, they completely blow it up. They can't get anything going. This is one where, we again get a decent field position. We're in pretty good shape. We're, able to get the ball, where we were at and are able to go through. And now the Bills get the ball again. We go through. James Cook gets a nice run. Josh Allen hits Diggs for another 20-yarder, looking pretty good. More runs with Cook and Murray, and Damian Harris gets it down to the down 1 yard down, and we're at 4th and 1. And here, if you watch this play, if it doesn't get batted down at the line, Stefon Diggs is open with running room. I don't know if he's going to score, but he's going to get a lot more than 1 yard. It's going to be a really nice play. So the play design and scheme was right. It's just, I guess, if you go to pass the ball on 4th and 1, that's the risk of one of the things that can happen. Overall, I would love, I don't get why Philadelphia is the only team that every single time you get to 4th and 1, they just do their big athletic quarterback as the tush push automatic conversion. Like, can't we just do that every time? Like, we got Josh Allen. Can't we just put Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid or Dawson Knox and Latavius Murray behind Josh and just say, okay, I dare you to stop this 700 pounds.
I mean, normally
coming at you,
right? Like, that would be typically the tendency, what I would expect from them in that 4th situation. But if it's me, man, for 2 plays in a row, I think I said it last week on the post game, like Latavius Murray in that situation with a running head of steam feels like I would take 2 shots at that, just like punch that in twice. And I feel like nobody can stop that in the league. But it would, to your point, be a real different conversation if that ball's a half inch above the fingertip that it touches.
We're playing the results, because if it doesn't get tipped, Stefon Diggs catches it and runs. It's probably like a 10 or 15 yard play, just not going crazy, but it would have been a nice play. He would have got 10 or 15 yards. It would have been probably 1st and 10 at the 20 going in, and we're feeling good about it. And it's fine. And again, this is the moment I talked about earlier. And this combination of plays is going to be my West Herr drive of the game. So shout out to our guys at West Herr. Aaron talked about his earlier. They get a double dip here today. This moment where, okay, so the Bills just turned it over on downs. We give Washington the ball at their own 37. And like I said, I had that moment in my head of, come on, man, don't do what we did against the Jets where you control the entire game and then let a team that doesn't deserve it get back into this game because you make mistakes and give them a chance. And right off the bat, Taron Johnson punches it out. You have Terrell Bernard fall on the ball again with his crazy, amazing game. He's got a magnet for the freaking ball. And then they come right back, and Josh Allen hits James Cook on a 10-yard play. Back to Diggs for 3, James Cook for another 5, to Latavius Murray for a really nice 3rd down conversion where he gets it on a swing and makes a little move after he gets the ball. We try another play to Deontay Hardy, and then Josh runs it in with like a gorgeous finger roll, to be able to just jog free into the end zone. And that play was kind of the, okay, we've been controlling this entire game, but when you're only up 2 scores with technical 2-point conversions, you're just always in that anxiety of like, man, if something stupid happens here, you never know. And I don't want to have to deal with that. And this was kind of that release valve of, okay, we don't have to worry about anything dumb happening here. There's no chance Washington is putting up 3 scores. This game is fully put away and over. I can all the way relax now. Even though, they were in control the whole game, the score didn't really indicate how dominant they had been because of the turnover on downs in the 2 situations and settling for the field goal 3 times. it really looked closer than what it was. And this really, kind of unleashed it and let it get back to where it should have been.
For sure. And going into that point, this is so much time has been spent in this show talking about at the end of a half, the Bills offense just being unable to give the defense the type of complimentary football that they deserve, right? You got an interception right out of the gate, saving a touchdown. Again, I don't expect them to go out and get points from that big drive. They do end up flipping the field there, but then you get another great 3rd and long stop from your defense, get the ball back with, again, let's put this thing away, fellas. And then you get that 4th and 1 batted. Like, it just always feels like early in those second halves going into the 4th quarter, they just, to your point, let some teams that don't really deserve any business being in this game. And all it needs is ending those drives in field goals, right? We don't need touchdowns on every drive, but getting a couple of those to get field goals to make you feel better. But they do end up getting to where they need to be here in this drive. And then really continue on to just even make you relax a little bit more. Just a few plays later, like not long later after that, I've really put my notebook away for the day, right? Like it just gets out of control really fast from that point. So that's a great West Herr drive of the game here. But I just want to point out, we're going to celebrate the offense and Allen and all those things too. But that 8 minutes, 10 minutes of game time in the second half is very frustrating when you should put them away a little earlier than this.
Correct. There was opportunities to be able to really cruise. And again, not, I guess, apparently not like the Dolphins did, but to cruise to a very comfortable blowout win. And this was 37-3. Totally. It looks like a blowout. It just could have been that way earlier to be able to be in that situation. So, the reason that it ended up being a blowout is on the next set of downs. Again, the Washington, you got to pass at this point. It's already ugly. You can't really do much else, but there's pressure constantly. Howell gets a pass to Bates, has an incompletion to Gibson, and then I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he's running out to the left, tries to like pump fake. AJ Epinesa goes up in the air and he throws the ball like directly into AJ Epinesa's face. And Epinesa does one of those things where he's like, oh my God, like where normally you make fun of the defensive linemen because they like bat it down and don't know what to do. And Epinesa actually made a pretty graceful play, catching it at like getting it rifled at his face from 4 yards away, comes down with it, stiff arms Sam Howell, and then makes a play or two on his way to the end zone. Actually looks like an athlete on a 32-yard interception return for a touchdown. I did not have AJ Epinesa pick 6 on my bingo card.
No. There was a bunch of stuff that I didn't have. Terrell Bernard just like busting out and have a defensive player of the week type of performance on my bingo card. It's just that kind of day. And when you have a blowout like this and your team is this was the point I was making in the preview show and in Spaces, and why people thought I was being so cocky was, this Bills roster, same thing as against the Raiders last week. They're stacked. And for 4 quarters, I think it suffocates teams like this. And I think that is what we ended up seeing, is even when you had guys getting big minutes like AJ Epinesa coming out and making big plays. And even at the end of this game, like the Bills were still just dominating. Once they pulled their starters, they were still just moving the ball down the field on like a 4-minute drive. Like it becomes suffocating for some of these teams when you have this type of talent across your depth chart. I mean, look at the inactives for the Bills today, Greg. There's at least 3 starting caliber players in that inactive list every single week.
I can't even get a game day active out to where they are. So yeah, it's a pretty fantastic. Again, they come back here. Quick 3 and out. They get a completion to Cole Turner, then an Ed Oliver sack and a Greg Rousseau sack. And just at this point, I'm honestly kind of feeling bad for Sam Howell. It's like a stat padding at this point. Like
they like panned to him after one of the I think probably this drive ended or something, and they were like showing him on the bench with Jacoby Brissett trying to like, it's okay. You could just see he was just buddy. Like, I'm not even listening to anything at all anymore.
No, that's just life sucks at that point. I am all the way done with everything right now. The Bills get the ball back here. True. Like my favorite kind of 4-minute offense is when the other team knows you are only running the ball and you still are able to run the ball. So
especially without Josh Allen in.
Allen sits down.
We don't throw any passes.
They bring Kyle Allen in. There's actually no evidence that Kyle Allen entered the game until his 2 kneel downs at the end. So they bring in Kyle Allen. They make it clear. Although I will say Ken Dorsey did a nice job of not just going like too tight fullback, like straight up the middle. Like they did still use some creativity in their run game. James Cook for 10 yards, Murray for 2, Harris for 1, Murray for 7 for a really nice pickup. James Cook for 6. Then James Cook, like you said, the master of the garbage time break off run. He breaks off the 34-yarder to pad his stats a little bit. We get it down to first and goal at the 4. Murray for 1, Cook for 1, Murray back in for the 2-yard touchdown. And just 9 straight run plays where Washington knew we were running the ball and we still went forward. There was a couple 1-yarders in there, but 0 negative plays, 0 stopped at the line of scrimmage. We gained yards on 9 consecutive plays. That is picture perfect 4-minute offense. That's exactly what you want. We kept the clock running for 5 minutes and 57 seconds straight down the field and did exactly what we wanted to do to just take the air out of the ball. And honestly, if James Cook doesn't break off the 34-yarder, we probably would have had like 2 or 3 more first downs in there, and they would have never got the ball back to end it with what was one of the most pitiful displays I've ever seen I'm trying to think back to like drought times. If we were losing 37-3 and Dick Duran is the coach,
McDermott
37-0.
100% McDermott or not Marone.
Marone would have kicked the field goal. Duran would have kicked the field goal. So the Washington comes down the field. We have all of our backups in. There's like no starters in on defense anymore. They start getting some completions here or there. They get a nice chunk play to Curtis Samuel. Then Epinesa gets a sack. Then Daquan Jones gets a sack. And this is at a point where it's 37-0. And they get a sack with 1 minute and 2 left. And Ron Rivera's taking timeouts.
Mm-hmm.
Like taking timeouts. Like your quarterback just got hit again. So you are more worried.
Quarterback probably shouldn't even be in there at this point in the game.
Yes. On top of the fact you didn't even put Jacoby Brissett in, you're letting your quarterback get hit more. You're taking timeouts after he got hit again because you are more concerned with your own pride of not getting shut out than you are of the well-being of your quarterback. You then get him sacked again and take another timeout. Then on 3rd and 19, he gets hit again as they incomplete the ball. And then on 4th and 19 at the 33-yard line, you line up for a 51-yard field goal to technically make it not a shutout. In any other team, Sean McDermott there, we just gracefully run a draw and it goes for 8 yards. And then the other team gets the ball back and they kneel it out and the game's over. You just take your medicine and move on with it. I just like the fact that he exposed Sam Howell to 3 more hits only so he wouldn't get shut out and get embarrassed is just shocking.
It's weird. It's a weird energy. But I understand that people get in those moments, you get weirdly pissy petty.
And I get it. There is history with me. I thought like McDermott and Rivera have a good relationship. So it's not like I get it almost.
I wouldn't let you shut me out.
Like a contentious one. Like if it's, screw Belichick, I don't want him to get the shutout. Like I kind of get that, but like they have a good relationship. Like I don't know. It was just super weird. And again, honestly, in a vacuum, the decision on 4th and 19 is what it is. Like, yes, on paper, the right decision is to kick the field goal because you're sure as hell not going to convert 4th and 19. It's the 2 timeouts with 1 minute 2 left when you just got your quarterback hit again. Yeah. Take a timeout, get him hit again, take another timeout just so you can kick a field goal. Like, you should be embarrassed. Ron Rivera should be embarrassed. And you expose your quarterback to a ton more, pounding for your own pride because you weren't a big enough man to take the 37-0 beating that your team took.
Yeah, a tough weekend for the Commanders. The one thing I was talking about about this game was I think the Commanders are a team that's trending in the right direction from where they've been.
From an ownership standpoint, it ain't going to be
All
with
of
Ron
it.
Rivera. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I think even it might be Eric Bieniemy. I think Bieniemy coming in and having the type of success that they can have with that offense. I think Sam Howell is super limited, but I think they're going to be a fun team and a competitive.
It ain't going to be with Sam Howell, and it ain't going to be with Ron Rivera. But the fans should be excited about some of the young pieces and the ownership being an actual reasonable human.
Yeah, but I think there was some hype around this team, and I think the 2-0 start, they were feeling excited, and the idea that, hey, you got you could have the potential for a 3-0 start against the Super Bowl caliber team that's coming in, but what really ended up shaking out here was what Super Bowl caliber teams look up against the teams that are just trying to scratch their way into being playoff caliber relevant type teams. This is kind of what those games look like. Maybe not to the extent of it almost being a shutout or the type of blowout it was, but on paper, the physicality that was displayed, like the Bills should come in and look like this against this type of team.
Yeah. So again, that kind of wrapped it up here for the game flow. A dominant performance, and honestly, like we said, could have easily been 49-0 instead of 37-3. So we'll see where that goes. The awesome job by the Bills fans that turned out there. There was so Uber Hansen was there for our group. Mike Thomas, one of our supporters from a marketing standpoint, was there with his father. They're having a great time. And I saw a bunch of videos out there watching that looked like it was like 60-40 or Commanders fans, like 40% Bills fans. And by the end, so many Washington fans had left that it was a Bills home game. Like by the end of the game, it was a Bills home game and pretty much just Bills fans there. So great job by Bills fans heading down there and really you could hear the announcers talking about the fact that they made a huge impact on the game where they're having to go on like silent counts at home on third down. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. And Bills fans travel and are honestly the best. That's why they're the best.
We are the best. I think it's because that Dell guy was there.
Obviously, that's it makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So any other thoughts on today?
No.
We got our Terrell Bernard, defensive player of the game. We had a dominant victory. We had a fun and exotic play calling from Sean McDermott. And now we get the clash of the AFC East here next week. We're going to welcome on our guy, Tom Marinesi, from Talking Dolphins. And it's going to be a lot of fun. This game in Buffalo, we're going to welcome in, obviously, the hottest team in the NFL, the 3-0 Miami Dolphins, coming off a 70-point thrashing.
Favorites for the East, right?
They're obviously, yes, they should be the favorites right now.
I think Tua might even be the MVP favorite right now.
I believe he is. I believe Tua is the betting favorite for MVP, and that the Dolphins are the betting favorite to win the AFC East. And honestly, they should be. They're undefeated and are coming in off a crazy high. Justin here saying that I saw that the Bills were favored by 3. I'm going to guess that comes down as the week goes. There's going to be a lot of people getting excited about those 70 points for Miami. I'm going to guess that closes as Bills -1.5, maybe even a pick 'em by the time the game comes. And honestly,
nobody believes in us, Craig.
It should be a coin flip. These are two really good teams, and we need to prove ourselves against a team as explosive as this, and I'm excited to see it. So on behalf of our awesome producer, Chris Kepner, the chat was awesome today. You guys are fantastic. Again, anybody who didn't have a chance to be able to hit that like button, help us out. That's the way that you can spread the word and tell other people that you enjoyed your time today. Press the like button, give us a rating, give us a review. We played our video earlier of the importance of signing up for OnePass. We've had a ton of you joining us. The Slack channel was awesome today, having a blast throughout the entire game. So please make sure to check it out. There's going to be tons of other stuff going on later on tonight. I'm going to be jumping on, going around the horn of all these other crazy games today, reviewing those on the Greg Tompsett Sports Show. You'll have Going Deep and Air Raid Hour and the Roundup and all the other guys. Make sure I can't wait to see the film room breaking down this game and disguise coverage. So many other good shows. Make sure you're checking out everything that's going on here. But on behalf of amazing producer Chris Kepner and Aaron Quinn, I am Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to the Cover One Buffalo podcast, and we are out.